Welcome everybody, Beard and Llama podcast. Llama Running here. We got the beard with us, and today we're going to be talking about kind of the forecast for the 2020s. You know, the Roaring 20s are back, and the question I'm posing to Trevor today and to you guys,
While I'm eating,
while he's yes, it's this is a home experience. We're just bringing the vlog to the podcast,
well,
but
what the reality is that we'll sit here and talk for a while, and then go, oh wait, we need to talk, we need to record this because this would be perfect for a podcast. But I'm in the middle of eating, so you're just gonna have to put up with it.
but so the question is, I feel that Marvel, the MCU, is going to die down a bit in this upcoming decade. Not because the story quality is going to go down or the characters aren't going to be interesting or the overall plot isn't going to be, on par with what they've done before, but partially because of the Batman movie and that Robert Pattinson series with him that's going to be coming out, but mostly because I believe this decade of Star Wars we're going to get is going to be equivalent culturally, like the impact it will have, as Star Wars did when it originally came out in the 70s. I think if this was a different franchise, they would call this new age of Star Wars the new Star Wars, but it's just really the second coming. What do you think, Trevor?
All right. Well, so when it came to MCU, obviously we had the huge multi-year thing, right? Which is generally everybody loved. Like it turned out good, it ended good, all that stuff. The question now is, are people fatigued? Now, if the Corona did anything good for Disney or Marvel, is that it gave everybody a year off. All right, of Marvel content because you have this huge thing and Endgame and Iron Man's dead and everything, right? So taking a break from it's good, but but from Disney's perspective, they're like, we can't take a break because we got to keep making that money. So so what it is, it forced them to slow down on the MCU, but it's also so it gave everybody a break. So I think when WandaVision kicks off in a few weeks here, that people will be like, all right, cool. All right, we're ready for some Marvel stuff. Now the next question is it going to get overcrowded, right? As you propose, well, Star Wars and maybe like some of these, like the new Batman, the Pattinson Batman and stuff, like if that kicks off really well, is it going to crowd the space? Well, if everything was only in the movie theaters, yes, it would. But I think streaming is allowing will give more room for people or for properties to be able to breathe. So you can have a lot more big properties all at once, because we're not talking about, we're talking about 52 Friday nights a year, right? And of course, not all of those 52 weekends a year to release movies on are prime times to be releasing movies for people to go to movie theaters, right? You always have your big weekends and the times where people are on vacation, or that for break or whatever. There's holidays, stuff like that, right? Where people like, oh, let's go see a movie. It's different now with streaming. So Marvel will still continue to do, will probably be fine. But with a couple seasons of Mandalorian in the tank now, especially with the way they ended season 2, Star Wars is getting ready to hit another stride. It's, after the sequel trilogy stuff and all that, blah, blah. I think that, and this is all because of Luke Skywalker, I'm going to say. It's all because of Luke Skywalker. Now, not to say that The Mandalorian is not a good show, or it's a great show. I love it. But I think putting Luke Skywalker at the end of The Mandalorian season 2 was actually probably a gamble. it was a big gamble on Filoni and Favreau's part. I think that they were probably, when they, submit and released it to Disney Plus, 2 in the morning for us here in the Central Time Zone. I think that they were like, because people are going to love it, they're going to hate it. Because when Star Wars fans hate things, they hate things, and they just completely go crazy about how they hate things. But what happened is people went crazy in a good way. And I think Luke Skywalker showing up and Luke Skywalker being such a hit and success, it is actually now going to give Lucasfilm permission to go really hard in the paint when it comes to the Star Wars properties. Obviously, before we knew Luke was showing up, they had planned a lot of things. But I think what it is that now it's going to allow them to go, we can do this. And the fans have spoken in such a way in their reaction to tell them what direction we want you to go. And which the fans have been telling them for a lot of years, but they think they're smarter than us. So it's Luke Skywalker really probably is single-handedly, in a way, going to bring in the roaring 20s of the Star Wars universe, is what I think.
I think another key to why I think Star Wars is going to eclipse Marvel in such a way that it will deem Marvel, I don't know. You had Harry Potter, and at the same time you had Twilight. And both are hits, but one is remembered. I think Star Wars will be Harry Potter and Marvel will be Twilight. And it's solely because my opinion is I think television shows are better than movies because you go in better detail. You get to really experience the story. And I think that's a sentiment shared by a lot of people. I love movies. I watch way too many movies. But I think TV shows do better at developing a lore, a fandom. Look at Star Trek. I mean, to be honest, there's nothing equivalent to Star Trek. Like that quality of fan. Like they learn languages. I love Star Wars. I'm not learning a language. I don't care that much. And that's just almost like a rite of passage. I'm not a Star Trek fan, but just how I view Star Trek fans is I just assume you can speak Klingon because that's a stereotype. And I think that you got that with Game of Thrones. And I'm part of that cult fandom. And I think that that's one of the things that is, if you can say, sucked with the MCU, is none of the TV shows are really that good. Like The Punisher was dope, but it didn't tie into anything. Daredevil was kind of cool, but it didn't really tie into anything. But Star Wars, we're going to have movies, but what we have before us is a bunch of television shows and new books and just lore being dropped on us. And I think that's the key. I think Marvel did a good job of building up this universe that led to Endgame, which, in all honesty, I don't think anything will ever be equivalent to what Endgame was. Like, as far as its impact in the world, just like it literally was a center of the universe for a weekend. I don't think anything will do that again to that scope. Like, there'll never be another Michael Jackson. But I just think Star Wars is going to be able to do what the MCU did with movies, but be able to do what Star Trek did with TV shows, but at the same time. And that's something we've never had.
Yeah. Well, people watch things differently now. That's a big part of it. That's why you can now have you can still have movies, but now with the takeover of streaming services and the way they're doing things, people have learned or been trained to watch things in a serial format. Of course, a lot of that's watching it all at the same time, and they don't release this stuff all at the same time. But the whole binge watching stuff. But what it has done is it's just changed how we approach we watch stuff. With network television, right? There's a schedule that's got to be kept to, right? That they're playing. There's 52 weeks. They have to fit all their shows. They got to have shows that last a good chunk of the year and have like 20 something episodes. And so they got to make shows fit this schedule of being on TV, because they got to fill the TV with content. But with streaming, you can do an 8-episode season. No big deal. It's not like you have all these other Thursday nights to fill with a television program. With streaming, it's just you can fit the story to the amount of episodes you need and not what you have to fill, which is why they've drug out. And so when you have shows that are drug out, well, then that the writing is compromised. The quality is compromised. But with these shows that are on streaming services, they can fit the time frame that they want to fit. It's not that they have to have a 20-episode season just because, we have 20 Thursday nights that we have to fill. So that's I think why one of the things that has majorly changed in the way we watch TV and the way we watch stuff, and it's opened the doors to be able to have a Marvel Cinematic Universe that's going to be still primarily movies, but then now you have a Star Wars stuff. You have Star Wars stuff that's going to be primarily on Disney Plus in a show format.
And I know Marvel's doing TV shows, and I think WandaVision's going to be great. I'm really excited. And by the way, because I don't know if you know, but they did just announce it's going to be 9 episodes. So, but I didn't read the article enough.
It's longer.
I don't know how long.
Yeah, it's longer than anybody
be, though.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, maybe it's gonna be like the Mandalorian. You have Mandalorian episodes that are 30-something minutes long, and then you have some that are 50-something minutes long.
And I like that.
Just fit it to the story.
And Mandalorian's like the first show to really do that, right? I mean, I know there's shows that don't have the exact same time, but it had such a range in episode lengths. Like, it was quite drastic. I don't see any future Marvel TV shows that when I looked at the lineup, I go, ooh, I'm really excited for that. Like Falcon and Winter Soldier or whatever that's called. That's going to be really fun to watch, but I don't think that really is going to do anything to move the universe forward significantly, like the Rangers of the New Republic or the Mandalorian or Ahsoka is going to do for Star Wars. And I think WandaVision's it.
Well, I agree, because when it comes to movies, we expect the big stuff out of the movies from Marvel. And for a lot of Star Wars fans, we've just come to expect meh for movies, except Rogue One, of course. Again, I'm not really a sequel trilogy hater, but if The Mandalorian's done anything, it's shown me the potential that we can have in Star Wars on screen, and that it does kind of take the sequel trilogy down a few notches for me.
Well, I think this what I am comprehending as far as what the double Fs are doing with Star Wars is I don't think, and I know we've talked about this, and I thought they were going to retcon it, but I've made a complete switch, and I don't think there's a chance they're going to retcon much of anything of it. Maybe some minor details. They're not really retcons, but maybe some contradictions or whatever you want to call them. But with the cloning and with Luke getting Grogu, so it's really leaning into the Jedi Academy he builds, and I think they're going to do to the sequel trilogy what Return of the Jedi did to Empire Strikes Back, where when you fit it into the whole story, it's great.
Yeah.
Like what Batman vs Superman could have been if anything else in the DC universe made sense. Like, kind of a mess of a movie, but if you fill in some holes and add a little backstory here in another film, it turns into a masterpiece. So I think if they do it right, I think the sequel
Yeah.
trilogy could be saved. I think if we really explore Luke, and like you said, I agree
It's
with you. I think he's the key. If we explore him building the academy, and then it's fall, I think we understand the hermit we get in the sequel trilogy.
Yeah. So they're either going to fix the sequel trilogy, or they might eventually just discard it. We'll just see. I don't think it's.
Yeah.
I don't think right now. If you're going to if you're going to discard the sequel trilogy, right? We'll just say that. Let's say they retcon it or whatever. They discard it. They put it in its own legends, category. It's not a decision you make now. It's a decision you make when you have a real good reason to do it.
Right.
Basically, the story going in that direction.
Right. So what is, since we're talking about this, the 20s coming upon us? Well, I mean, we're in it. We've been in it for over a year. But what's one, because I know we're getting 6 new shows announced, probably Celebration, I assume. Or 6 new projects. There could be movies in there. I don't know exactly what the makeup is, but what's one that you're really hoping we get that you might not have heard any rumors about, but you think might be a possibility, but more so you just really hope you see it on that list?
The Luke stuff?
No, like one of these new projects coming up. What's that they haven't announced yet? What do you hope one of the projects is? Like whose show? What does it take place during?
Okay. Well, I'm curious if there's going to be any more High Republic stuff. Since that book is now going to be out, I guess, tomorrow. but of course, they've already announced the High Republic show with Acolyte, which seems really interesting. By the way, does this seem like a Quentin Tarantino movie? Like we're sitting here have a conversation and we're eating, or I'm eating? Sorry, I'm just being funny.
Well, the High Republic is like a 200-year period, isn't it? And the Acolyte's at the end of it, so you could explore a couple centuries with television shows in the High Republic.
Yeah,
because the book that you said, I believe it takes place 200 years before our introduction into Star Wars. In the not in our time, but chronologically with this prequel trilogy. So
yeah. So I think that we could have, there could be a High Republic show for sure. Interesting. I heard some talk recently that Disney might be looking to explore the dark side a lot.
I think they should.
I think it'd
be a hit.
And I think Acolyte is the beginning of that. And you're going to have all the Filoni-verse stuff. And you're going to have what's going to turn into Thrawn and all that. You're going to have all that happen, right? But I think in the future, distant future, they're going to start delving into some of the dark side stuff, which is cool because that actually gives you a really good reason to get into the Old Republic.
So I'm glad you said that. A lot of this ties into I want a Kylo Ren show.
Yeah.
So that could feed into that dark side focus that you just talked about. That I think we might be on the same page here.
Mm-hmm. Well, you got to think about all your favorite characters of the Old Republic era. Who are they?
Vader, right? Is that
no?
Old
the
Republic.
Old Republic era.
Prequel,
right? Who? No, Old Republic is like thousands of years ago. Okay,
I was trying to focus on canon. Oh, Revan, my bad. I had a brain fart.
Wow. All the big characters that you think about in the Old Republic era are all Sith or were a Sith at one point.
I mean, beyond like being able to get attached to a character like Obi-Wan or Luke or Anakin, or Windu or any of those, the Jedi are a pretty boring prototype for a character. Like that's not necessarily someone that's going to attract people to be interested. So I think if they do explore the dark side, that's easy money. Easy money.
Well, yeah, because you got Malik, you got Revan, you got Bane, you got Plagueis. You have a ton of dark side characters that stand out in the Old Republic, and it's not the Jedi that stand out. Not any specific Jedi that you think of when you think of Old Republic. You always think of Sith dark side users. So yes, so I'm curious in the announcements that they might be coming up in this year, is that will they start to now lay the foundation and the groundwork for the post Filoni-verse stuff, which will explore more of the dark side of the Force and those characters within it, and that's where and it's a logical place to go, and also there's a lot of good stuff when it comes to stories and things, that are in that. I mean,
I guess my only thing is these 6 projects being announced. The only thing that I don't know if you have the answer to, is the time frame they're supposed to take place in. Like, are they going to be pretty immediate? Are these kind of more of the down the road plans? Because if it's down the road, then I definitely want more Filoni-verse. But if it's more immediate, like 2 years, 3 years, I kind of don't want them to touch that time period because I don't want to get overcrowded. Like, I really want to be trying to find answers in Rangers of the New Republic, in Mandalorian season 4 and 5, and those kind of things. I do think a Luke Jedi Temple show would be cool, or I don't know, something like that. But I don't want spoilers for what could happen with Grogu and Mando, and I just think that they're smarter than me. So if they did it, they'd have these answers. But
if they weren't thinking about a Luke show before the season 2 of Mandalorian finished, they are now.
I just don't know CGI Luke. Just get an actor. I know he's going to look a little different. I hope it's Sebastian Stan, but if he doesn't want to do it, like, just get close as you can. No, please, no CGI. If it's his show, like, if he just does appearances here and there, okay. I mean, I could live with that.
But. Yeah. So something about, and also see what Marvel has done. That is why Marvel dominates over DC. Okay. When it comes to films in general, there's some good ones, good DC films. There's a few. Marvel's a lot better at developing villains. Okay. And it's true. For a good movie, a good show, you have to have a convincing, good villain. Developed all that stuff, right? DC has been horrible at that. They'll get these good ideas together, like Suicide Squad. I'm like, how can that idea go wrong? And they did. They screwed it up. But there's no villain. It's right. Like they do like the Batman versus Superman. It was like this whole conflict between Superman and Batman, and which is like good. Like, oh my gosh, it's awesome. And then boom, there's Doomsday. Like, where'd he come from? Like, what? Like, huh? And then Wonder Woman just jumps right in there. And, hey guys, I'm here. And so it's kind of like you took this turn, right? Now Zod was okay in the Man of Steel, right? Yeah.
Well, even Heath Ledger's Joker, that's a great performance, but not a good character. Like an okay character, but not a. I mean, yeah,
yeah. So DC's been horrible about developing villains and convincing villains, and of course, what Marvel did is Marvel took 20 freaking movies to eventually to really develop a villain into Thanos, and which made it just whoa. Okay, so taking that, okay, but really, what property out there has the best villains?
If you let me answer that honestly, I'm going to say DC. I think DC has the best
Star
rogues
Wars.
gallery. Oh, I think DC's
No.
rogues gallery is the best. But they've done an awful job on film. But I think if you get in the comic books, I mean, I will argue that their villains are Batman's rogues gallery alone is better than all of Marvel combined, and I would put it up there with Star Wars.
Okay. Star Wars has excellent villains. Star Wars has a bunch of excellent villains. If we're talking about Legends or talking about the Old Republic, like talking about all this other, like, I mean, Darth Vader's the most iconic villain ever. Okay,
Got me there.
Even though Darth Maul was, I mean, the Emperor, Palpatine, like what? And, you know what they did with Maul after, in the Clone Wars and into Rebels. Go back to the Old Republic.
Real quick about Maul, not to interrupt you, but I almost don't view Maul as a villain anymore. I view him as someone who just got screwed. Which is a great character.
He flirts with anti-hero in a way. Because he did want to take out the Emperor in the end. He was seeking the power to be able to take out the Emperor. So, he flirted with anti-hero, but okay. In the Star Wars universe, we love the bounty hunters, and they're usually bad or shady, right? You got Jabba the Hutt, right? Even villains. You have to have the balance. You can have awesome heroes, which are awesome, great to have, but if you don't have convincing villains to go up against them, then the heroes are weak. You got Count Dooku. You got General Grievous. These are all villains that. If you explore all the material of them outside of just the movies, like they're all really fleshed out characters and villains.
Would you agree with the statement though that I have for Star Wars? I think Star Wars is awesome. I think DC villains are better, but I don't feel that passionate about it. Like every point you made is like, okay, yeah, Star Wars does have some legendary villains, but the one fault I have with Star Wars is I don't think they have that many great heroes. I think we got Luke, Anakin, Obi-Wan. This might be a fiery opinion. I don't think Yoda's that cool of a character. I just think he was a really cool, creature, and he talked different. And I think everyone just kind of loved him. And I think he has this mythos around him that is due, and I think he is important to the story. I don't think he's that great of a character. We also haven't explored him that much, though. So.
Well, Yoda's best showing will probably always be Empire Strikes Back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's hard to when Yoda is so awesome in Empire Strikes Back. Man, it is kind of hard to, and
his performance for anyone watching, if
Yoda is a great
to that Yoda performance, and then you go back and watch the prequel trilogy, some of those, what is he talking about things make a lot of sense. So that was one thing I do tip my hat to George Lucas with the prequel trilogy is a lot of those little Easter eggs he gave us.
Yeah. Now, Yoda is a character. Yoda can't be the center of anything. He's not a conflicted enough character to be in the middle or be the central role in something for Star Wars, unless with the High Republic when he's younger. They do present him in a way that's more conflicted
and more issues
and more things. It's possible. It's very possible because we're getting Yoda. We're getting when we are introduced to Master Yoda in Empire Strikes Back, and he's in the prequels and all that stuff. He's Master Yoda. He's at the end of his life. He is who he is, right? So for Yoda to take a big role as a hero of something, it's got to be, you definitely got to go to a different point in his life to do it, because you can't do that as Master Yoda. It's got to be as just Jedi Knight Yoda or young Padawan Yoda or something like that.
So I'm interested. So Acolyte takes place right at the end of the High Republic, right?
Mm-hmm. Whatever's going to happen in Acolyte is basically it sounds like it's basically going to end the High Republic era. Like whatever happens there.
If this is correct, now this is from sci-fi-stack-exchange.com. It's the first thing that popped up on Google, and I know that it hasn't been canonized yet, so that's still up for debate. But according to them, Master Yoda was the last Grand Master of the old Jedi Order, holding the title as early as 82 BBY. And if you Google when the High Republic takes place, it's approximately between 300 BBY and 82 BBY. So Acolyte is not only going to end the High Republic, but it will potentially introduce us to Yoda becoming Grand Master. That not necessarily the Acolyte, I'm not saying it'll cover it, but that time period, potentially all that's happening at that moment.
Yeah,
which is kind of cool.
Yeah, because then we might get Plagueis and we might get the beginning of Palpatine.
Who do you want more, Plagueis or Revan?
That could be very,
like right now. Who do you want more with everything Star Wars is doing? Do you want Plagueis or Revan?
Well, Plagueis would be awesome. I mean, but we all want Revan, but but that's thousands of years before that. But it would be interesting to explore Plagueis for sure. It would be interesting to see Palpatine younger, weaker, more vulnerable.
That would be.
That could be an interesting thing to explore.
I would like a young
not
Palpatine
always like he is, like
his powers. That'd be cool when he's before Plagueis gets a hold of him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, getting kicked around, essentially, because basically all we've seen of Palpatine is he's in control in some way, and but to see him younger, that could be a really interesting thing to see for sure. So yeah, future of Star Wars can be it's going to be the decade of Star Wars for sure. It's just like this past decade was the decade of MCU. MCU is going to continue on. They're going to, and they'll do well. And I think they'll continue to put out pretty good stuff.
Oh yeah.
Because now they can do stuff with the X-Men. They got a lot of things they can do, right? There is going to be some MCU fatigue, even though they had a year off. But especially the people love Star Wars. We're excited about Star Wars up until the last episode of season 2 of The Mandalorian, okay? But after Luke showed up, it was a game changer.
Oh yeah.
And the only way that this can't work is if they just intentionally screw it up. Because of course I feel like they did that with Suicide Squad. So I guess it's possible. But I think that that Luke Skywalker in The Mandalorian brought together all of your old fans and all your young fans and everybody in between.
Except for like the 3 people I've seen in I've saw in all of social media who for some reason didn't want Luke. I've only seen like 2 of them, but they stood out because they were just ridiculous.
Yeah. There's always going to be people that are going to be hating or not like it or agree with it. I'm going to tell you right now, everybody, I mean, for the vast majority, like Luke Skywalker, even if Luke never showed up again, Luke Skywalker showing up in Mandalorian changed a lot.
It might have saved Star Wars.
A lot. I tell you, we were, course, I was thinking Mandalorian was saving Star Wars, but Luke Skywalker sealed the deal for sure. And maybe they shouldn't do a lot with Luke Skywalker in the future. They
or
just
maybe wait a
he
while.
needed to come in and have that moment.
Wait till like Mark Hamill's.
Yeah,
I don't know if he has a grandson, but maybe he has a grandson that's a spitting image. Hedge your bet that way.
But it was a big deal. It was a big deal for sure. Again, I got confidence in Filoni and Favreau, and do I think they're going to do everything perfect? No, but I think they understand the spirit of Star Wars, and they understand it a lot more like we do than other filmmakers had or did, and when it comes to making other Star Wars properties. So just all the details, man, that they pay attention to. Like, I caught this, and it's been talked about, but let's just talk about details here. Okay, at the end credit scene, all right, when Boba Fett comes in front of Bib Fortuna, right, in Jabba's old palace. Bib Fortuna, do you know where his staff is from?
No, but it looked familiar.
That Bib Fortuna was.
I do remember seeing him, and the staff caught my eye, and I recognized it, but I don't know from where.
Okay. And this might seem like I'm going off on a rabbit trail, but I'll bring it back. All right. So back when they were making Star Wars toys, back in the late 70s, early 80s, everybody had to have something, right? Everybody had to have some sort of accessory to come with the action figure, whether it be a blaster or something, a staff or this or that, right? Everybody had to have something. Bib Fortuna, they gave him a staff.
That's right.
And it's a toy, little plastic thing piece, right? That's the only place that thing appears was on a freaking Kenner toy from back in the early 80s, right? And what is Bib Fortuna holding? He's holding that staff based off that toy. It was never showed up in any of the movies. He never had it. It's something they developed just so that his action figure could have something with him, right? And
have you seen the meme where it's two kids playing with Star Wars toys, and then it says Dave and Dan making Star Wars? And that's really what it is. It's literally a fan-made film with all the money of professional films, and they just happen to be professional filmmakers. But it's,
right. So the Bib Fortuna staff, okay, and it doesn't detract. It's not like they're trying to make a statement or try to give fan service in a way that is like over the top, okay. But it just shows an understanding,
right?
It shows an understanding of the people that are making these shows. They get it, man. They get what Star Wars is, and I know it's hard to, and people that people that get Star Wars, like, I know that's hard to explain. It would be hard to explain to somebody, but people that get Star Wars, all of us that get it, we get it, and we just there's an understanding. There's an understanding, and with those kind of details and things like that, it's a respecting of where it comes from, respecting of its history, but it's very much going into the future.
Well, yeah, and it's even answering questions that fans have had forever, like in Fett's armor, the red digital stuff that you could never clearly see in the original movie or the prequel. Well, in The Mandalorian, we got the actual numbers and they got confirmation that it was like his life reserve and other stuff like that. Like, just little details that are insignificant, don't play a part at all, and probably never will. Like I said, that dude's staff, like, I don't know. I watch YouTube videos on that stuff because it's cool. So moving forward,
so
a fun question is, and I don't know, this might be a little down note to end it on. What is one thing in the 2020s, or at least in the first half of the 2020s, do you not want them to cover in Star Wars?
And
why
I don't want them to overextend themselves.
Everyone, who was that really annoying guy from the prequel movies? The Gungan, what was his name?
Oh, Jar Jar.
Canonically, he hasn't died yet, so that'd be cool if we got that on screen, just in the background. Like, he never says anything. He just kind of, I don't know. That'd be cool.
Yeah. I just don't want them to. I don't want them to do too much too fast. They really did. The big strength of the MCU is they had a long-term plan, and they only started releasing 3 MCU movies a year, only until after it had been going for a while. But whenever the story and what they were doing could sustain that amount of movies a year. Okay, so I know there's a lot of announcements and a lot of things, but the good thing is a lot of the shows and things coming up aren't all related to each other. A lot of it is standalone stuff, so that's fine. But as long as whatever they're doing, that's cohesive story. That's the Filoni-verse. Roll it out, do it good. Take a decade to do it. That's fine. Take a decade to do it. I know as much as people want it now. I'm more like, hey, if it means good, take longer. If it's gonna be better, if it's gonna make it better, if it's gonna take a little longer, that's fine. You don't have to just try to churn, because when you mass produce stuff, you devalue things. And so my concern, or what I don't want them to do, is to try to just completely overload the system when it comes to it, because really the only way that they're going to be able to sustain a heavy amount of shows coming out in the future is for a lot of people to get into it and a lot of people to get plugged into it. See, a lot of people watched Iron Man and Captain America and all that stuff, right, as they came out. But it wasn't really until the first Avengers movie that a massive amount of people started to really tune in, right? It's like that TV show that that it's been going on for a couple seasons, but for some reason in season 3 it just
Game of Thrones.
Awesome. And then so everybody's going back and watching the first 2 seasons so they can catch up to what's going on right now, right? Not everybody that watched Game of Thrones started when it first came out. They probably gained their audience by 10 times by the time it was all over.
Yeah, because I was a season 3 guy. Right when it got popular, I was like, let's check this out.
Yeah. So you have to have this. You have to have the snowball effect, and if you try to throw everything all out at once, not gonna happen. Right now they got the Mandalorian. Boy, it started a freaking good snowball, and Luke Skywalker tripled it. And so then we'll have a few things this next year, and then the years after that, and then you can start rolling things out faster and bigger. But then you've had more time to develop it, and you know where you're going and all that stuff. So I just don't want them to do things just to do it. It's got to make sense. They need to have the story to do it, and if they don't have the story, they don't do it. They shouldn't do it.
I agree, and I can pinpoint that to one person. And I love the Marvel example because that's exactly what I was going to use. Like I said, they established all these different movies and the movie trilogies. Then you had the Avengers, and that's when we got Thanos for the first time, and that was the key to the MCU is Thanos. I was on Thanos' side in Infinity War. I hated it, but I was. That's Thrawn. I know Luke is big. Luke Skywalker is huge. He saved Star Wars, but Thrawn is the key. Thrawn is yeah, and I don't want him introduced until into season 1 of Ahsoka. At earliest, hopefully, that big climactic movie event, I want that to be the reveal of Thrawn. And I don't want him to be the villain of that movie. I just want him to be revealed. I want all these great villains, like you said, that Marvel did. Develop these great villains, and then develop a really big boss villain and Loki, like they did with Loki, and have them beat them and be crazy. And how do they do it? Barely against the odds. And then show me Thrawn. Make me leave that theater not caring about the fact this great victory by the good guys. We'll talk about that next week. I want to talk about, did you see the blue dude? He's here. He's finally here. We knew it was coming. There was hints for years, and he's finally here. I want that.
Yeah.
I think that is the
Mhm.
the ultimate key.
Yeah, because basically, like in like in the Marvel movies, as they started to roll them out, they started revealing the Infinity Stones before they started calling them Infinity Stones, right? It took a
Right.
while for them to go, oh, this is an Infinity Stone, and then of course once the acknowledgement of Infinity Stones happened, everybody went straight to Thanos.
Right.
It's Thanos, right? And that's it was a great way of doing that and building up to it. And just again, it's about having a plan and looking to the future and not try to make the quick buck now. And I think the streaming services are a way for that to happen.
Right.
It's a way for that to happen. Whenever Disney has like 130 million subscribers, they can do this. It's and they can take their time and they can do this. And the good thing about Disney Plus, I guess, or the streaming services in general, is if they have one bad show, it's not going to bankrupt Disney Plus. You know, you can have a bad movie and end something, right? But Disney Plus, they got a lot of other content to put out.
You know something this growing thought I'm having, because we did talk about in one of our earlier episodes of how are you going to spread out all these different big franchises on Disney Plus, and I'm to the point where I don't think that's the problem, because I don't think a Marvel show coming out is going to stop people from watching the Star Wars show. We're going to watch both.
Oh, they're not stop. It's not.
I think what they're going to see, and I think we'll see some numbers come out in the next couple of weeks of how many people drop Disney Plus since Mandalorian ended. And I think that Disney, who ultimately wants money, and I think you can kind of see this starting to happen if you look at the movies coming out next year. Because like you said earlier in this episode, there's those weekends, those time periods where movies come out. If you look at next year's release schedule as of now, there is no time period. There's 2 or 3 big movies every month. And I think Disney Plus is going to be that way, where there's always a Star Wars show on. There's always a Marvel show on. There's always a new Disney animated movie coming out every season.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think they're going to make it to where the Star Wars fans are never going to drop this subscription. The Marvel fans are never going to drop it. Not only because, they can go buy the hard copy, but we're having new stuff come out next month too. So you can buy our hard copy and give us more money, but you're also going to keep our subscription service because, Ahsoka comes out tomorrow. just stuff like that.
Okay. Well, just, the timing of WandaVision is going to lead right up to the release of Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, once they start you on that ride, they're going to keep you, if you're going to go along with it, right?
Right.
And Disney Plus, the thing is they can put out a Marvel property every quarter and a Star Wars property every quarter, and it's not an overload.
Right.
It's just another season of something to watch, or and that's different. That's different than having to release them in the movies and compete with each other. See, Star Wars movies and Marvel movies could compete with each other, even though they're the same company. But when they're on a streaming service, they're not competing with each other.
They're helping each other.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I just watch the brand new Ahsoka episode and then there's a brand new, Spider-Girl episode, I'm just making up stuff. Well, I'm going to go watch a Spider-Girl episode now because, I'm in the mode now. I just watched one new episode. I want to watch another new episode of something. And it's right there. You don't have to do anything. You just hit a button.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Exactly. So it's So the dynamics of streaming services, we're seeing really kind of the full fruition of what that's doing and how that's changing a lot of film for the good. Obviously, though, you're gonna have a lot of crap come out. There's gonna be a lot of stuff that's not gonna be good. That it'll come out on stuff on different streaming channels and stuff like that. But it's allowing long form storytelling and allowing people to do those stories with budgets that can visually make it look how it should. And they're not holding their breath, hoping that they make all their money back at the box office. The reality is they're making everything with money they've already made.
Right.
So it's really just kind of win-win, really.
Good point. Any last comments on the subject matter at hand before we end it?
That's it. All I gotta say is Luke Skywalker. He it's all on Luke.
Right. I think it's always been all on Luke though. But well,
cool.
Hey, that shirt, what does that shirt say again?
Dank Ferrick.
Where'd you get that?
The link will be in the down there. I started a merch store of my own merch store called the Bearded Merch, and I started putting some fun stuff up in there. And so you can get Dank Ferrick on a shirt or a sweatshirt and coffee mug and stuff like that. So it's all our new Star Wars curse words. Gotta love it.
You know, that segue right there, we should send to like companies like, hey, we could be this good of sponsors. Look at that.
Right.
But thanks for joining us, everybody. We will be with you soon. Other than that, stay nerdy, keep watching Star Wars, Marvel, whatever you're watching. Hit us in the comments, like, subscribe, share, and then join the Trevor Star Wars Banter group on Facebook if you want a little bit more personal and fun, immersive Star Wars community. But we'll holler at you guys next time. Peace.